Welcome, everybody. Woohoo! So, thank you for all being here after a pretty long day, probably. So, but keep the vibe alive. My name's Charlotte. I have the pleasure of being the host of an amazing team for this evening session. I work with the secretariat of something called the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. We're hosted by the UN Development Programme, but have members from all over the world. And I feel actually quite moved to be, when the team asked could I support in introducing them, because we have a very special team of partners that have come from the Philippines, have come from Cameroon, and are also with us online from Colombia. And we're going to explore together what can we learn from communities that are already at the edges, that have been experiencing the polycrisis of climate, of conflict, of colonialization and all that has come in its wake. How can the ancestral wisdom and how their traditions are helping uphold the resilience to face the challenges of these times? And they've teamed up through some work in the Conscious Food Systems Alliance to learn from each other, from across the globe, from the Philippines to Colombia via Cameroon, with also the intention to help us learn from these rich traditions, to help us reconnect with our own indigenous wisdom and traditions. And I'm just going to give a brief overview of who's with us, because you will hear from these short bios that we're actually very privileged to be welcoming them here today. So, from the Philippines, well, let me start actually for our friends from Colombia, whom we'll be seeing on the screens shortly. We will be hearing from Ati Quigua, who's an indigenous Colombian activist, environmentalist, and politician and pacifist from the peoples of Arhuaco. And she has been working on many fronts, on water and food culture, helping the youth and fighting discrimination. We'll also hear from Margarita, who's been an amazing community activist working on preserving Mother Earth, but also the human beings that live on this mother, and very active in the Global Environment Network at various levels, and as well as many organizations in Colombia. We are joined by Mamerto from the Philippines. Mamerto is from the Ifugao tribe in the Cordillera region of the northern Philippines. He's an 8th generation Bumbaki, native priest of the Baki spirituality. And he's been growing with this tradition since his childhood and really teaching now how to bring this wisdom into the work that we do at the community level, in farming, and much more. And he was just saying, I've come all this way, and we just have a few minutes to share some of our wisdom, 8 generations of wisdom. But I was reassuring him, his presence is actually a very big part of that gift, and some things can be much more than what is transmitted through words. So thank you, Mamerto, for coming all this way. We're also joined from our friends. So he's been accompanied by Sarah. Sarah, an amazing member of COFSA from the beginning. COFSA's Conscious Food Systems Alliance for short. And she's a regenerative design and development specialist that's been weaving experiences in the fields of peace building, biocultural heritage, environmental education, mental health, and humanitarian innovation for 20 years. So very active in the Philippines, also working with refugees from the climate crisis, working with permaculture, and founding the Green Relief Initiative. But she's also very active in the Gaia Education and the Global Eco-Village Network. And from Cameroon, we're joined by our friend Konkankoh, Joshua, who's an indigenous environmental leader who's weaving networks that enhance South-North partnerships and working as a social entrepreneur and consultant who's really also supporting a lot the youth and helping bring back this initiation of our youth, tying them to the traditional wisdom. And he's accompanied by one of the young women, amazing leader, Sonita, who's now serving as communications coordinator of the Pocket Project, And she has been working in many years, including with Better World Cameroon, the organization Konkankoh founded, and helping regenerative community initiatives, social enterprises development. And for example, as an illustration of her work, she won in 2017 the Gender Just Climate Solutions Award. So I could read the whole bios, they're very long, so I just hope this session is an appetizer to find out more about their amazing work and get to engage with them. Enough said from me. The way we're going to run this session is Sonita and Sarah are going to give a bit of a framing on how they've been working together, on looking at how we can weave wisdom into facing the polycrises of our time. And then we will enter into ceremony. That's why hold on to your little seed, it's very precious. And from then we will then go into a panel where we explore these themes further. I will be asking a few questions from our friends here and Margarita. We also have some video testimonials from Colombia with translation. And then we will, of course, come into an exchange with all of you. So thank you for your presence. And Sarah, Sonita, over to you. And I think you can each have a clicker. Yay, thank you.
Confirm with the clicker. Green means forward.
Move forward, yes.
Yeah?
It's like sorry, I didn't want to say it.
Yeah. Maybe I talk first about Ubuntu. Because when you saw from Ubuntu to Kapwa, maybe it sparked something. Maybe not. And I want to come from that inspiration. So Ubuntu, we were inspired by this philosophy of togetherness, community, trust, sharing in circles across generations. The elders, the young people, the children, sometimes maybe around a fire, under a tree, and sometimes telling stories. So, in a few words, the complex philosophy of Ubuntu as Africans would narrate it. And because so many Africans have traveled the world through the beautiful Atlantic Ocean, in arriving into Colombia, we thought there is some patterns of similarities in our cultures, but beyond that, in our humanities and in our ancestral origins. And we could learn a lot from that. And then we came into Kapwa, which Sarah will explain in a bit. So this is how the inspiration of our journey into this, what we will be sharing with you today, has come from. And Charlotte has already presented all of us. But we have a few questions for how we want to weave into today. And the big question which Charlotte presented is about the polycrisis and how we have, or we are still, it's a lifetime journey. We're still weaving our way through that crisis. And I noticed I missed something. And the way we have worked has been a process of embodying. So we have not just been working the land, we have been grounding in the land with our bodies. And we've been celebrating, learning, giving offerings. We've been dreaming, honoring. And maybe one thing we could do today together is to listen deeply. And listening deeply is part of the ancestral wisdom from the cultures we've come from. And here are some of the elders who have been part of this project. So from Ubuntu to Kapwa is the depth of our being across South-to-South collaboration. And I would like now to pass the word to Sarah, who has been one of the co-creators and designers of this deep design journey. Yep.
Thank you, Sonita. And in the spirit of Ubuntu, and then the Kapwa, she passes it on to me, so I explain Kapwa. Kapwa is also like Ubuntu. Kapwa means the shared inner self. So you have the inner self, but you're also sharing your inner self. So it's something that we cannot separate from each other. In Filipino, for example, the word "I love you" is mahal kita, and kita means there's no I or you. Actually, there's like the shared love or something like that. So, and when you see a Filipino in another country, they always say like, "Where are you from?" And they will say, "Oh yeah, I have a cousin there." It's like as if we can relate, but there's just the worldview that we're not separate from you, and it's a worldview that's connected to the divinity of all, the plants, the other people, not just people, but the non-human world as well. So that's in the spirit that is shared with I Am Because You Are, Ubuntu. But later you'll also hear about Nadifor, which is actually also from Cameroon, a spirit of Nadifor that Konkankoh will say. But for easier reference, Ubuntu was just an easier concept for African unity and identity that was also shared with Colombia. So just adding that. The reason why we came together, apart from the South to South, we're not used to spotlights, as you can see. We're just like, we're people from the edges. So it's so funny because I was just at a IPC in Taiwan, and my mentor, Rosemary Morrow, was just saying, our session was called Permaculture from the Edges, and she said, actually, these should not be from the edges. And if you know Rosemary Morrow, she's a permaculture pioneer working with refugees and displacement around the world. And she said, this work from the edges should be at the center. And I see many people in this room who actually work from the edges, like Chris, who's there with the Himalayan Permaculture Network, the Realliance team here. I'm like, I thought you were going to have a meeting and now you're here. But these are people, there are people who are doing this work, and I'm grateful that you are here with us and bringing the work from the edges to the center. And so the reason why we came together, apart from we realized there's so much actually from the Global South that we have to support each other, because we know there's still this need to redefine the narrative of development, and that we already have existing knowledge and wisdom, and we need to support each other, and to kind of, and like Konkankoh would say, how do we bring it not just north-south, but south-north? But before we bring the south-north, we strengthen the south-south, so that we're very clear our positioning, our standing. So we're grateful for COPSA actually to help us kind of bring together. We've been doing this work for a long time, but it helped us come together and make sense and make meaning together. So that's the context of this story. Historically, you probably know Colombia, Philippines have been colonized by Spain, Cameroon by French and British. And many, and we've also had Americans, but just the complexity of that, and then the climate crisis and the conflict that we all experience. So there's just this multiple crises that maybe there's something here that we can offer the world. So that is our offering today. So I think Sonita forgot one thing that we learned from the experience. You didn't forget it. It's probably meant, but don't worry, because you gave us the background. The pillar was the tree, the journey we did. The tree you saw earlier, we said, how might we design a deep design approach? Because there's regenerative design, but we wondered, how can we have a deep design for regeneration? Because we use, systems thinking, human design thinking. We do start with empathy and stuff, but a lot of our cultures start with listening. And a lot of our cultures begin with honoring. And then that's where we start understanding what is the dream that calls us, and that what are we offering back to the world, and then what are we learning together? How do we celebrate and bring that and embody that? So that's the journey. And we, in that journey we did, you could see that we had these practices that emerged, the biocultural heritage, ways of holding ceremony, ways of, sorry, it's hard for me as a dyslexic to read that from where, documenting the knowledge, and a lot of ways of respectful research and receiving guidance from wisdom keepers. And we can share this after, but you will hear a lot more from the storytellers today, so I won't go beyond this context building. And I'm grateful for Charlotte for guiding us on how we would hold this process together. I think our next intention is to do her ceremony together. So I will pass it on to our elders, Mamerto Tindongan and Konkankoh Joshua.
I guess we don't have to hold that piece.
I guess we don't have to. We are used to this kind of thing.
There's a hidden thing here that's transmitting my my sound. Polycrisis is hard to solve if it's just us. Just imagine all the problems that we are facing. But we are not alone. We have our ancestors with us, and we can fit 1 million of ancestors here if we have to. So I ask that you are going to sit erect, so your spinal column is straight, and I like you to think of your departed loved ones, both from your parents, mother and father. Remember the name of those deceased. And I'm going to ask them, if you only remember 2 or 3, that's enough. I will ask them to call whoever is ready to come here and help us solve the problem of the world. It's easy. Okay? So I like you to connect with your loved ones, dead loved ones. And I'm going to say the prayer in my language. Iyon cha yun rinawat chomma cha yun nun ayagan ayu tami iyat ayuh tun aton me tunan yu pagoyo tun at pe tai yumong ayong cha tahe mata kui pi ilia mi a chiu iluya kinaka iho ya kinangar he iluya yon he mata kui pi ilia mi pi mogmog mi te amma phojan ci pangaya kan min cha inrinawa cha yu matungulan yamana haut yumong ayong ayon cha mi taun not he mungan me amma phojan mi tahe kumi ochi pi tanud mi tawayote ami munawawangan pakingom mina pakang ancalan ya jumumutum si pintaur ngalap ci patuya kinang daya amap hojan ci pamaya minca inrinawa hiya.
Our elders joining from Colombia.
Tinamujina adine dare bunsi michana onondi atiki wazakino kwani abiri joavi como nakana kwani reina zeni. Un saludo desde la Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, desde el calor del fuego sagrado de mi hogar, el arbono, que es el fuego sagrado que transforma nuestros alimentos en medicina. Aquí con la semilla del maíz nativo, unirme a la ceremonia por una alimentación más consciente, una alimentación que respete nuestro cuerpo y nuestros territorios y sobre todo que alimente nuestra conciencia. Muchas gracias por tener en cuenta nuestra asociación, Semilla de Vida y Paz, en este espacio, en esta ceremonia. Desde acá me uno con la energía de nuestras plantas sagradas.
Muchas gracias, Ati. Thank you, Ati, for being here. And this is part of the contributions and gifts that we want to bring from the Colombian region, from South America, to this space in the other side of the world, with our brothers and sisters in Europe. Thank you.
De hermandad a Camerún y a Filipinas, nuestros hermanos con los que estamos desarrollando este proyecto de alimentación consciente. Desde aquí, desde Ibáñez, en el municipio de Agua de Dios, desde nuestra finca Los Ángeles, desde el fuego que nos abriga, que nos calienta y que nos proporciona bienestar en este territorio tan bonito. Desde aquí los queremos saludar y decirles que en este año podamos hacer acciones concretas que fortalezcan el tejido de la Madre Tierra. Vamos donde vamos, el Haití lo saboreamos. Vamos donde vamos, el Haití lo saboreamos. Es el fruto de la vida, es el fruto de la vida. A mí me gusta el Haití y me gusta su sabor. Es el fruto de la vida, es el fruto de la vida.
He whispered to me that I should translate the prayer. Which language? I don't need to, because we all felt it. This is the beauty of an alliance. In the past, we formed alliance to fight wars. This is an act of presencing, maybe unprecedented. Why is this room full? What is Ubuntu? What is Kapwa? What is regeneration from the ages? Community engagement. An alliance of love. Be it the prayer from Colombia, from the Philippines, from Cameroon. I don't need to go into any language because we have felt it. So, what is community? I invite you to turn to your left, to your right, look. Be present, fully present in the community. Who is with you? Great. Great. Connection. When there is connection, something begins to flow. And what is that thing? This is the green and blue energy. But it starts with blue energy. Some people have said that it is feminine or it's masculine, whatever we call it. We know that water is life, blue energy. And we know that green, all the greens. We like to talk about colors as the human colors, because we want to fight or create box divisions. But actually, deep in our hearts, if we can come back to that place and listen, we would feel the simplicity of all the languages. This is what we discovered at the ages, but what is at the center? Probably this is calling us to bring that drum. You go to Cameroon, the wars, the extraction, genocide, but something is beating. The heart beats. We breathe. So, what about food? There's a lot of eating here today. Probably the communion, why we decided to come together and communion together. So, but I think the central thing here, it's very easy that we understand that the crisis that we are talking about, they are somewhere. Because we are not listening. Maybe we should take just a second, think for ourselves, what are we not listening to? The land is speaking to us. Nature-based solutions are the land. What is man? Water and clay. So the lack of spirit, that thing that we are here to build, is called a community of practice. Nature does it every day. We are breathing. We forget that we are breathing. We even forget that we eat. When we go to our businesses, we are fighting. Do we honor the thing that makes us who we are? Food. What have we done to our rivers? When I was growing up, they named the people settled along rivers. But the country where I have settled from war, my host country, the rivers have disappeared. So the education of the children started with who we are, where we are, know thy rivers, the ones that are flowing in and the ones that are flowing out. We often talk about historical facts, but when the rivers have disappeared, will the children ever know who they are or where they come from? When the children do not know where their food comes from, what is food, they don't know who they are. They've never connected with real life. They connect with supermarket. So this is the community of practice, of living life. Life is the community. Without the trees, would we breathe clean air?
It's okay to go back to the original.
Will we have food if there were no plants? What we have done to the land, and it's crying out loud. The people from the ages have been dealing with this over the years. And they have remained resilient despite the climate crisis. Well, the question from the center is whether we can learn something from the ages. Those who do regeneration work know where regeneration starts. But what have we done? When we talk about this community, do we think about the digital divide? Do we think about what has happened with our terminologies? If we are not talking about the global south or the global north, the less developed, the advanced civilized. So there is a common call to come back to our hearts and to listen to the land. I believe that's why we are all here.
I think you redistributed some seeds.
Okay, I guess it's my turn.
Yes, some seeds.
I tried to bargain with these people.
We gave everybody a little seed.
The seeds.
That they will make an intention with the seeds.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I'm supposed to give a talk.
After.
Yeah. Purpose of the seeds, we'll start with that, is that, you know, we are still Homo sapiens who eat. We are not like our predecessors, the Lemurian, who do not eat. And until such time that we will become Homo luminous, we still need to eat. And food is our common bond that comes from the earth. Anything that we eat, it becomes us. So that's our connection. Our ancestors ate that kind of plant. We are eating it. We will be, our children and grandchildren will also be eating it. It represents this live earth. So obviously you cannot take everything that indigenous elders impart, but you can take that because all the knowledge is embodied by that seeds. Take care of that, and the earth will take care of you.
You the seeds, you can place an intention. The prayer actually started, we forgot to relay that before the prayer started, that you make an intention. So we can do that now. And carrying that message of holding the seed, place the seed on your left hand, and then with your right hand, put the seed on, put your right hand on top of the left hand with the seed, and then we invite you to think of an intention connecting to the prayers that were shared by Mamerto and the message of community that Konkankoh shared. You can close your eyes for a second or two and just think of an intention with that seed. As Mamerto was saying, is to pass it on as it has been passed on to you. And yeah, just hold that intention. And we close with the ceremony, just with that intention as we carry into the panel. Take your time to come back to this space when you're ready. And you can keep the seed in your pocket if you like. Don't forget it, it's so tiny. But it has now carries a message and carries blessing with you. Thank you.
I will now ask Sonita and Sarah to be in the center, please. And we have an opportunity to deepen a little bit the questions that our friends raised at the beginning, which are around what can we learn from communities already facing the polycrisis, from the front lines of the climate emergency, conflict, and historical colonization? And how might indigenous wisdom and traditional ecological knowledge from these places at the edges offer critical and vital ways of addressing the polycrisis we are all facing? I invite you to reflect on these questions, as I also invite our panel members to reflect on them. And as a means of involving really our friends from Colombia who would have loved to be here in person, but it was just too complicated for various reasons. But they are here listening online and with us. And we'll start with a little message from Abuela on video. And question.
Vamos a aprender de la polycrisis y al conflicto
Can you read?
Que ha generado históricamente el occidente. Bueno, los pueblos ancestrales desde siempre hemos dicho que hay que trabajar hermanados con la tierra, que hay que desarrollar procesos de cara a mantener la tierra con armonía, a sembrar nuestros árboles, nuestras plantas, etc. Debemos hermanarnos para lograr este propósito, ¿no? Debemos generar procesos de intercambio de los saberes, debemos desarrollar procesos que de ellos se aprenda, que los que estén en un lado vengan a los otros espacios y desde ahí poder aprender para generar esas dinámicas. Porque, bueno, desde espacios como las ciudades, de pronto no se puede ni evidenciar, ni se puede aprender desde el contexto que la tierra nos ofrece. ¿Sí? La tierra mismo nos enseña, desde acá lo estamos haciendo. A la segunda pregunta, que preguntan que qué podemos aportar desde la sabiduría ancestral, acá hemos desarrollado la Escuela de Saberes y Haceres Ancestrales para el Derecho Propio. Acá tenemos, desde la escuela, tenemos aulas vivas donde se puede aprender con la tierra. Los invitamos a que vengan aquí a aprender con nosotros, a conocer el territorio, a vivenciarlo, a caminarlo y entre todos desarrollar estrategias que nos permitan caminar de manera conjunta. Pero sobre todo es necesario que se puedan fortalecer estos procesos. Los que están en las grandes ciudades, que tienen la oportunidad de poder hacer procesos de gestión, pues les corresponde entonces contribuir a estos procesos que lo hemos venido haciendo de una manera amorosa, pero que no contamos con las condiciones específicas para adelantar esas acciones. De todas maneras lo venimos haciendo, pero necesitamos apoyo para hacerlo. Y eso es lo que yo quisiera decir en este video. Necesitamos hacer cosas prácticas para poder fortalecer no solamente la tierra o la siembra de árboles, sino también limpiar el agua, también fortalecer los demás ecosistemas que están en peligro. Y eso no lo podemos hacer sino con un paso a paso. Hay que hacer un paso a paso para poder caminar. Y todo eso requiere de esfuerzo, requiere de apoyos para lograrlo.
Abuela was really sharing about the importance of sharing this knowledge with the younger generation, anchoring it in the land for practical work. And Konkankoh, I know that's exactly what you've been doing with the youth, both initiating them in the traditions, but also doing very concrete actions on the ground to address the environmental crisis and others in Cameroon and now beyond. Would you like to share with us some of these practical learnings and how you are working with the youth to bring the traditional knowledge into addressing today's challenges?
Actually, we should start with the children. Before becoming youth, I was initiated at the age of 13 into the Council of Elders, where decisions are made, which means that the decisions of the children, it's most important because the decisions are about sustainability, and children are regarded as angels of the future that bring new knowledge. This comes back to the question I was asking, whether we listen to our children. When children are taken out of the boundaries we have created for them in the environment, you can learn a lot from them. The problem is the education of fear that we have created in the children. And the youth, they are the most important in this situation because they are the ones who are going to take over from us. But there is an absence of guidance, of mentorship. So what we can learn from indigenous people is what we call upbringing and learning from children, learning from elderly, and learning from the environment. So what happens is what we call education is of our opinions and cultures that has given us a certain mindset that we are behaving the way we are behaving with the land, with ourselves, that the village people consider a child upbringing is for the whole village. Everyone contributes to the upbringing of a child. So this is something very important, that when we start creating very dangerous words like education and development and teaching, taking away the learning, everyone is a learner. The elders learn from the children, the youth learn from the elders, everyone learns from the land. So this has helped us to understand that knowledge is an open resource. The greatest thing that marked me when I first arrived to Europe was the Ubuntu program that was called open resource that prevents viruses. But what have we done? We personalize, be it in our businesses, in our personal life, in our family, the concept of family. Once we have created these limitations and the barriers, then education, why do we doubt the following standards of education? And at the same time, why is the land crying? Because the role of responsibility that was given to man over the environment has been compromised. So there is a lot that we can learn when we share. We talked about connection, and once we have connected, what is flowing? So where there is no wisdom, that is from the land. Because someone said we are what we eat. We are now prone to eat genetically modified seeds, eat groceries from one monoculture to one monoculture, mono-thinking. That's why the indigenous people look at the mentality of the West of insisting on one line and forgetting the mystery of the bottom of the iceberg. Everything is circulating about the things that we see and can measure. And then it becomes the single story. In fact, we call it scientific. So the mystery of all life is forgotten. And then we doubt why we create all the complex, more speed. How can we listen? We are full of noise. And we have disturbed all the birds. We've disturbed all the fish in the sea and our land. Then it is working because the connection inside is the same. When we look out there and we see how people have contact with food and they are eating in silence and everyone is honoring. I mean, you can't imagine the taste of the food when you eat with your fingers. We separate even the soil from the soil. How can current flow when we don't put the positive and the negative together? Can they be light? So this is how we lose what makes us us, because we have completely separated ourselves. No family context, no coming around as a circle. We move only in squares and straight lines. So some of the things that we learn by going back to the roots we know, what happened to our ingenuity, that we are not, we think that we are not, from this part of the world is the same thing that we have done through the ages. And so the lesson maybe is what makes people resilient. Unity is, we know the answer. Divided, what happens to the house? More wars, more guns. The answer is food. That's why it's a very simple act that can happen wherever the idea of consciousness with our food systems, wherever this idea came from, has infected the whole world. That's why you're here. Because when something flows, it flows, that is, everything thrives, rain falls, rivers flow, and then after we do this and we drink. So the concept of communion together, that is the economy of love. We don't need so much. Everyone, this planet has enough for everyone. So maybe these are some of the lessons that we are here to share, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Konkankoh. Thank you. Mamerto, you are also a teacher. What would you like to share with our friends here about what you have learned from your ancestors? How is it supporting your community and other communities today? What would you like to share?
I have a lot to say, but you are not giving me that 5 hours that I asked.
Well, are you ready to stay another 4 hours?
I know they will like it. Can we extend? But I'll do my best. I'll just tell you, I'll summarize my story, and hopefully you will be inspired or gain something that you can take home with you and make it alive in your life. So I grew up in a tiny village. I learned how to farm at an early age. Maybe at 6 years old, I started going with my mother. So I learned the work of women first, because there's division of work. The harder one is done by men. So I learned first the work of women. That would have been child labor abuse, 6 years old, but that's how we learn. You learn from your elders. And then later I learned from my father, but then I had to go to school because, after colonization, when the Spaniards stayed there for 300 years, our tribe, which is in the mountainous area, were not totally subdued. So it's only when the American came that they used, of course, force and education and religion that we sort of were subdued, because there were tribal infighting at the time. So I went to school because I believe what teachers say, and you're forced because you cannot work without that certificate thing that you give when you finish school. So I went to school. I went to church because I was baptized in the Catholic Church. I finished college. I was the first one in our family to finish college. Fast forward, I married a Caucasian. I went to the United States and pursued higher education because I like to be a scientist and be employed in a prestigious institution and have that honor and money. Well, I contracted a sickness that has no cure according to modern medicine. I suffered for 15 years. It was until I met a shaman, a Native American Indian, who did soul retrieval on me, that I understood what's happening in my life. I went to a psychic, said, what's happening to me? Said, when you were a child, she doesn't know me, but it's psychic. When you were a child, you were eating a small amount of food, simple, but they are nutritious. Now you're eating a lot, but the quality of food diminishes. You, of course, understand that. Then the spirits, my ancestors, keep on communicating with me. They come in dreams, sometimes even in my waking time, that I'm supposed to be a shaman to continue what my father had been doing. I learned about the Pacos, or the shamans in Peru. I was initiated first as a Laika, or earth keeper, and then as a Paco. The principle that they apply that I like to share is that there are different levels of Pacos or shamans. If you are a first level, you need to push the second in order for you to go there. And if you are in the second level, you have to pull that one below you in order to move up to the next level. I thought that's a good principle, because it's not like capitalism where there's competition. You have to step on somebody in order to succeed. And if you don't succeed, it's your fault. You did not try hard enough. I applied that principle from the Paco. So I went home. I was back. I went to another psychic. I said, I like to talk to my ancestors through you. If you can do that, if you can channel them, said I can do that. So I talked to my ancestors because I have a lot of questions. I said, why me? Why did you pick me to be a shaman, to succeed my father? I have elder brothers. And there's a succession and ownership is according to birth order. And they said it's because you are the one ready. And I asked another question. Then what am I doing in USA? If I become a shaman, a Mumbaki, why am I here? Why did you allow it? And they said it's because you are not only going to connect the original Baki from the present because it's altered. You also need to connect culture. And I said, no, I'm not qualified for that. That's for an ambassador. I'm not qualified. And one of the ancestors just laughed, said, it's easy. You just live your truth and you do your work. So I said, well, then I accept. Because I can just carve or I can go to the farm and I'm doing my work. And that's why I'm here. So I started sharing what I actually learned when I was growing up. Then whenever I had been sharing around the world when I am called to speak in conferences, but the reason why I went back to the Philippines and turned it into my base is because whenever I go there, I don't see the ifugao that I grew up with. Most people, and generally most people in developing countries, they like to go to more developed countries where there's more opportunity, according to them. So I go there and the farm, or the terrace field that we are known for, we grow rice. That's the principal food that we grow. They're being abandoned. The shamans, the Mumbaki, they're going down in number. From 2016 to 2020, there were 14 shamans who died, and only one was initiated. And that only one initiated person was not practicing. And it's because of the demonization and that feeling of, that inferiority feeling. because you did not go to school and somebody went to school, that you are in the lower bracket of the ladder. Also, practically, you know, the mindset changed after colonization. So children, I talked to many shamans. I said, why are you giving up? Because there were some who gave up. I said, it's because my child wants to go to school. They don't ask for that rice field that is spread for. They ask for money. You see, farming is interconnected with spirituality. There are many rituals. So ancestors, deities are involved in the farming process. So today, very few are practicing the healing rituals. I know that the power did not diminish, but the collective intention is not there. There's no support from the community. Many are educated and Christianized, and so when there's a ritual, there's no collective thought to help. So the other challenge that I face, do I still have a minute or? Yeah.
Minute, not.
Warn me because I might keep on talking.
Okay.
So I went back, I started farming, you know, it's hard to find labor because the kind of farming that I use now is what my ancestors had been doing, using simple tools because I like my body to be strong, and I am strong. That I feel young. It's because of the work that I do, but very few like to go and work. The diversity of plant in the field is reduced. So it is hard. I'm trying to put back the endemic rice species, and it's hard because they don't have the kind of plants and faunas in the field that will help them. So that's the challenge. We are from a mountainous area, and the pan field, it is flooded all year round. It helps with preventing seeds. So there's an irrigation canal that has to be maintained. It's easier before because there are many people who farm, so they help one another. So I am in an abandoned village doing the work alone, and it's hard. Many insects are going, mice, because there are no other farmers cleaning their field. What will we do with that? I don't have all the remedies, but what I'm trying to do in the organization that I started is to merge indigenous practices with modern ways, so long as there are what they call good agricultural practices, where farming is based on respect, respecting the whole community, including us. Wow. What can you bring to your home? Obviously, you cannot come and live with me or in Cameroon, although you are welcome. But I like you to go home and apply that principle of respect, respecting the interconnectedness. And I like you to grow that plant so you will be reminded of the importance of taking care of the earth, taking care of that body.
Beautiful.
That a deal?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Am I done?
Nope, you've only just got started, but actually I think that's a very good question. So how about you take 2-3 minutes to speak with your neighbor of how are you going to go home and cultivate that respect? What will you do with that seed? Just have a little moment of exchange, and then we're going to come back to our panel, and we're going to hear from another elder in Colombia briefly, but then also from the younger generation who are learning from these elders and bringing this practice to the newer generations. But let's internalize this a little bit. So have a little exchange with your neighbor for 3 minutes maximum. When I raise my hands, you can raise yours, and we go back to the panel, okay?
Thank you. I live that water.
carry the credit because we cannot bring the message. So we need you. It's not like I'm giving you work. I want you to be paid, but you are not asking. I will keep asking until they give you enough money.
It was great because I wanted to ask the audience a question.
This is
to
the
get them
money.
energized. And
We
you
need
asked
the
the
money
question.
and the grassroots.
Perfect.
The money is not needed here. It's too much. So why do they give to those who have more money? Yes, you have to make a big project that will depend and have a big we're talking about, he needs money, I need money. How are we going to continue to bring you the knowledge to design and bring to these people? Because our communities need to get a trickle back. And if we don't work for that, we are reinforcing the extractive structures. So you notice that Andrew can help. If you don't make it clear, and if you ask like this,
We have a clear proposal.
you give like this. You ask like this, and if you even negotiate, you have something substantial. Life is negotiation.
We can do a little movement. Did you have something, a clapping, or no? You're just
Someone can count in a traditional language.
Okay.
Someone can count in their language. 1, 2, 3, and
Okay.
Happening now.
So you want to go and get ahead and guide that?
but Sarah also had a greeting from the Philippines.
Ah,
Hold the hand.
maybe we do that to say goodbye. Okay.
Okay, we're clapping.
Okay. And we can get them to stand up. And we invite you to stand up a little bit. Just so, Sonita, what do we do? I think you have. Here. Over there.
The mic is over there, but anyway, I can use this one.
You can also have this
I can
one.
also have this one.
Oh,
Well,
I was gonna give it.
I have many microphones. The idea is one person can just decide to say 1, 2, 3, 4 in their local language. And then once they say 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to clap like this 4 times.
Okay. And then if we can see our friends from Colombia, that would be great.
So anyone can say it.
1 2 1 2 3 4
In Cameroon?
Mo, ba, taru, kwa.
And to say hi to our friends from Colombia, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hello, Abuela. Hello, Ati. Hello, Margarita.
Hello, Margarita.
Para todos y para todas. Me siento en casa, me siento ahí.
Ah, you feel at home.
Bendiciones.
She feels at home. She's sending her blessings. And we're actually now going to hear from Ati on a beautiful video that was prepared. Yes? Ati, thank you for sending it. Abuela.
Thank you.
Así me sale, Jimenez Nuco, un saludo desde el corazón del mundo, la Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, para la abuela, para Margarita y para todas el auditorio y toda la familia.
Big greetings from the center of the world in the Sierra Nevada of Colombia. Beautiful. Let's hear from Ati, who had a few words with translation on the video, and then we'll go to Margarita. And we can all sit down.
Hola Ati, bienvenida a este espacio. Y bueno, queremos darte la palabra después de lo que hemos hecho de la ceremonia para que nos cuentes un poco cómo se relaciona ese trabajo que haces con todo este proceso de Ubuntu, tu Kapwa, de la alimentación consciente y de la revitalización de los conocimientos ancestrales al servicio de lo que necesita el planeta en este momento.
Muchísimas gracias por la invitación, un saludo muy el corazón del mundo, la Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. Hemos desde el año 2015 hecho un recorrido desde el lugar más alto de la sierra hasta sus estribaciones, en diálogo con el trabajo que hacen las mujeres desde sus huertas, de revitalizar los saberes, sus espacios colectivos y una de las metas más importantes de trabajo y de acción es la comprensión de que así como comemos, así pensamos, y si queremos cada vez tener más sensibilidad por el cuidado y la protección de los saberes, también cuidar las semillas que nos acompañan en cada momento de nuestra vida. Así que he querido que todo este trabajo colectivo pueda tener un espacio donde germinen esas semillas, y estamos en proceso de constituir un centro de investigación, interacción, innovación también, y de cooperación técnica y científica para cuidar nuestros suelos, nuestras aguas, implementar también todo el cuidado de nuestras damuquías, de nuestras semillas, y entonces haber comprendido también la dinámica de los microorganismos en nuestros bosques vírgenes, y poder trabajar también de la mano de la agroecología, la agricultura biodinámica, unido a los saberes. Pensamos que es la respuesta que quisiéramos tener la oportunidad de llevar como a cada huerta, a cada comunidad. Nosotros tenemos pues allí un trabajo social de básicamente varios años acá en la región, y estamos muy interesados en también la cooperación científica para sacar estas iniciativas adelante. Bueno, de parte de nuestra asociación Sé Vida, Sé Semilla de Vida y Paz, agradecidos por este espacio, y también desde esa estrecha relación que existe entre la mujer, el cuerpo y el territorio, también un trabajo necesario de hacer, de poder ser cada vez más consciente de ese cuerpo de ideas, de esos sentimientos, de las espiritualidades que nos unen a esta montaña sagrada. Y hemos estado realizando este año para trabajar el cuidado de nuestras fuentes de agua, tejidos con diversos procesos ambientales, académicos, y queremos invitarlos pues a ser parte también de esta iniciativa intercultural, de una interculturalidad crítica que pretende transformar también las relaciones sociales, de una ecología más profunda, que busca una justicia ecológica también, un marco de gobernanza más plural, más justa, que parta de reconocer los saberes locales. Creo que eso es supremamente valioso, y en especial con enfoque de apoyo a las mujeres. Nosotros estamos inmersos en un contexto cultural donde el liderazgo espiritual y político por mucho tiempo ha estado en cabeza también de los hombres, pero este tema, esta agenda de soberanía alimentaria es un asunto de soberanía existencial para las mujeres, y creemos que pues a todas las entidades y a la cooperación internacional, el acompañamiento con un criterio de equidad también es algo muy necesario en todos nuestros procesos.
Muchas gracias, Ati. Un abrazo grande también para todo el pueblo arhuaco y para esa bella sierra.
Thank you. Yes, and beautiful. Thank you so much, Ati, for this message. Muchísimas gracias por su presencia hoy. I don't know about you, but I'm struck by both the unicity and the beauty of each culture we are slowly getting to see a window in, and at the same time the unity. Ati mentioned the seed, just like Mamerto, the notion of respect, of connection, interconnectedness, and the fact that ancestral knowledge and science can come together. I'd like now to turn to Margarita and then Sarah and Sonita. Unfortunately, the time is very short. I hope you see this as an opportunity to start a longer conversation with them. How have you been learning from these elders and bringing this into your environmental work and your cultural work, your activism? And how has the principles of deep design informed and guided what you are now offering? How do you see this knowledge being shared also to us in the North who have so much to learn from you?
Well, thank you very much, Charlotte. I hope you can hear me well. And definitely going straight to the point, no? As much as we want, and we have this question of how to live more sustainable lives, more regenerative lives, more coherent lives, with the care of ourselves, of our families, our communities, and the whole world, I feel that this is kind of the only path. No, in the eco-village world, we have been just coming across all of these communities doing amazing work and becoming living and learning centers and becoming as schools, in this case, of ancestral wisdom. So it's a work that is many times very silent, and our duty has been to bring that information. And with Jen and Gaia Education doing these courses of eco-villages design, now all what we are doing about regeneration and food consciousness is bringing more and more these experiences, and not just in our words, but in the words of the other people who is working on the land, our elders, our wisdom keepers. And this is what has been more exciting for me of this process now, to have these opportunities. We will love to be there with you in person, but now we have these virtual tools, and that was a big part of our initiative of Ubuntu to Kapwa, to be able to use the virtual tools to bring us together and systematize, support our elders, our wisdom keepers, our communities, to share that knowledge so it can be spreaded and it can be also adapted or inspire people all around the world. So we want to continue this. We want to support more to highlight and to give voice to these places around the world who are doing beautiful things and amazing things that contributes to the care of Mother Earth and regeneration. And yeah, maybe I just want to share that Abuela was just telling me how touched she is to see, for example, what happens in Africa, where they are working with the plantain, and she has the plantain festival that is a means to recover that connection with the motherland of Africa. So many very deep things are moved by these processes, but also very practical things. And we hope that all of us in our daily lives can embrace it and embody it. Thank you.
Yes, I should say that the team, through this small project that was supported through an incubator of the Conscious Food Systems Alliance with support from the Whole Foundation, produced a beautiful manual of how to bring in ritual and song and ceremony in the work on food systems. It's a beautiful manual, and we're now looking to how we can have it shared more widely, and this is just the beginning of the journey. Sarah, Sonita, who wants to share more very briefly, because we'd love to maybe hear some questions or thoughts from the audience before we part, on how has this journey been for you, and how are you seeing this land also in the work of the eco-villages or communities you work with on the ground?
You would like to go last? Huh? Yeah. I think, first of all, that as a young person, we've grown up understanding that agriculture did not make our parents rich. and we've been super anxious and ambitious because we want to make money, we want to live a better life, and we want to especially make sure that our love for the planet nourishes our lives. And I have personally just seen myself as a translator, because our elders, they speak in languages like philosophers, and, you know, it's difficult sometimes to understand. And sometimes I say, even if, as young people, we really want to learn, but it's so hard to understand. And translating and understanding this way of living and being in nature and learning agriculture by a generation that thinks, wow, it's so dirty, it's such hard work, we are so scared of all these different insects, we're not even sure that in the rain, in the early morning dew, I want to go weeding the weeds in the farm, in the fields. How to convince this generation of young people that agriculture is the future. And this has been really, for me, the exploration, no, in this team, in this project, that how and what tools, and those tools and practices, indigenous practices, how to translate them, make them beautiful, enticing, exciting for this generation to take it, try it, and see that actually it works. And so I think that this is the work we've been doing, translating that, and that's also part of what the manual is about, and communicating that knowledge in a way that it's digestible, bit by bit, and easy for us in our world today to take it and unroll it.
Thank you, Sonita. Yesterday, some of us were in a beautiful event called Listening to the Land that was hosted by ORFC, COFSA, and Animate Earth. And Mamerto, you said, the pressure of being an elder. But I also feel the pressure of being a young person. Sarah, what would be your answer to the question Sonita raised about how we bring this to young people? How do we make it fun? I'm sure you run very fun workshops.
Well, the work that actually I'm working with Kuya Mamerto, Kuya's elder brother, actually, but is working with, he has a center, but in our work, we work with permaculture centers, like learning sites. And we usually work with indigenous communities that were affected and impacted by climate change. And we thought, when we create these centers or learning sites, why couldn't be it also a place of deeper remembering? Because we're already sharing how to save seed, but we don't really share much the story of that seed or the rituals of that seed or the folk tales or the memories of this land and the story that make it valuable and memorable for them. Because even if there's so much wisdom in these communities, as Kuya Mamerto was saying, is that a lot of them have also lost, their traditions because of the modern dream. I was just standing there. I remember these words, and if I'm not mistaken, it's the Harohako people's message, or maybe another Latin American indigenous group, but it came from Pamchamama Alliance. She said, to change the world is to change the dream of the modern man. Because the dream of the modern man is to become this, the convenience. To change it is really to change that dream, not to change the world is to change the dream. And I think creating these bioregional learning centers that, and for me, because I'm an artist and I try to remember that path myself because I lost my way. I ran my nonprofit and kind of got sucked in so much fundraising management, but going back to the soul of the work, not just the soil, is how do we use this center as places of intergenerational learning, where the elders A really amazing National Geographic explorer that I learned from is Dr. Elizabeth Lindsay, and she said if an elder dies, a whole library burns. And so how can these learning centers be living libraries or living museums of remembering? And I think, and because these are already places where we demonstrate, and this is why I wanted to be last, because a lot of us are permaculture designers, probably agroecology practitioners, and the opportunity to not just grow food, grow trees, but the spirit and the spirit of the land and the wisdom of the land is also told through these seeds, through these trees, and the cultural memory and imagination that can be held in that space is very potent when people can see the story of the land, the story of the people. Lastly, what I'm also I've realized I really wanted to share this yesterday at the listening to them. I'm like, I cannot believe I didn't share it. So I'm going to take this opportunity because I'm so grateful to be part of the COFSA Alliance because the UNDP convened us. And if you weren't there yesterday, the gift that they were bringing was that now finally we can feel like we're legitimate enough to talk about spirit and wisdom because the UN says so. But somehow our criticism is also like, we've been there, this been there this whole time, but the UN said no, that wasn't important, and now the UN says it's important, so now it's good. But I think the one memory that really came to me, actually, I really wanted to say this yesterday, was the reason why I'm in this work, because we were always at the climate summits, Konkankoh, Sonita, myself, Margarita. We would go to COP. We're part of the Global Eco-Village Network. We would, go there every year, and there's something in me because we deal with these government leaders and very interested in eco-village development, but I felt there was something missing because for some reason I end up listening to people like Mamerto, the shamans, the babaylans, the elders, and they would make rituals to ask for prayers. Or like a babaylan I know and learned from, she said, this farm, they were transitioning to organic, and they asked us to make a ritual for the lands, and then they had like 50% more yields of rice compared to, traditionally if you transition to organic, you would do a loss because the transition means your soil is less healthier. Or that when I was in a ritual summit of Indigenous elders in the Philippines called Kapwa conference, interesting to talk about Kapwa, there was a storm actually, and then the Indigenous peoples created the ritual, and then the storm stopped. And I kept on thinking when I was at the COP, like, we took so many years to talk about to stop the rain and to let the sun shine, or to stop the sun shining to the drought. But these elders, they just made prayer and made ceremony. And I think about California now, and I remember being there years ago. I also offered prayer with Indigenous elders there, the Native American elders. And that time there was a drought in California, and it was the World Water Day. And so everybody gathered together and created a meditation and gathering to honor water because there was drought in California. I kid you not, it rained the next day. And so I think, I'm not saying that that's the only solution, because we do need science, we do need the knowledge, but I think it was the soul of our work, the soil and the soul need to come together, as we all know. And I think that's really why we're doing this. So thank you for the opportunity to learn and share with you all. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Space. Yeah.
I think. I have to do a mea culpa as a facilitator, because of course we would have loved to hear more from you. And especially our guests here, they said, we want to have some more interaction. And we were looking at the 1 hour and a half, and I said, you guys have flown a very long way. I think we want to hear from you. So I see the time. I don't want to go over time because you're probably very tired. So if you feel satisfied, I would just, rather than more words, invite us to have 30 seconds in silence and to allow a little door to open to dream. as Sarah invited us, we spoke about the great mountain of Sierra Nevada. We saw the beautiful hills of the Philippines, but also here the land also supports us. We were talking about the land of Oxford here that has hosted so much learning all these centuries, potentially as the great teacher. So in that awareness, let's take a moment of silence and dream. And you can stay in that dream. I can tell you that seeing a beautiful room of smiling people with their eyes closed in communion is one of my dreams come true. And I would like to ask maybe our friends to say just one word that you would like to offer as a closing. And then Sarah, I think you will guide us into a final handshake. Yeah? Margarita. One word.
Gratitude, gratefulness.
Abuela y a ti, ¿podéis compartir una palabra para una conclusión pequeña? Una palabra para nuestros amigos aquí.
Invito a la comunidad académica de Oxford a abrir unas líneas de investigación, interacción cultural para el buen vivir, una alternativa civilizatoria desde los pueblos indígenas.
Desde los pueblos afros a integrarnos en la diáspora del mundo para el buen vivir de los ecosistemas que junto a la tierra claman justicia.
So, Abuela is asking to be integrated in the big diaspora of all individuals working for the well-being of all beings on the planet. And Ati was inviting the University of Oxford to open more lines of investigation in the power and knowledge of traditional wisdom to inform more of our work. Thank you. Sarah?
My word is pag-asa or hope.
Konkankoh?
Prosperity.
Mamerto. One word.
One word?
Yes.
May I beg for 10 seconds?
You got it.
Yeah, it may be not be in line with what you are asking me, but what I like to tell you, people, is that what elders in indigenous communities need, the wisdom keepers, what they need is support. What I will take home now is your support. Your coming here is very important to me. I'm gaining. I will take this home and say you are not alone. There are people who are interested with your knowledge. Don't die with your knowledge. Share them. Thank you for coming.
Sonita?
Love.
And my word is fullness. Feel very full. Sarah, how do we say goodbye?
Okay, I thought we were going to dance.
Oh, we could dance. We could do both. We could do both.
So a Filipino greeting, but actually it's a Pacific Austronesian heritage is daupang palad. Daupang is like touching, means daupang, and palad means palm. And we hold our hands like this. But if you're sensitive, if you have a cold and you touch your snot or something, maybe not touch it. Be mindful. No, but but it became an African touching.
They need livelihoods. Livelihoods. Support them. They will design what you need.
Thanks. So this.
You are youth.
I feel like a youth. So we can stand up and we can look for a partner. We'll just do this left, right, back, front if you want, but you hold the hand like that, and then you slowly pull away without talking.
No talking.
And then like this, and then slowly pull away, and then put it in your head, and then your heart, and then you say goodbye or greet, and then but you can also say, we are one in minds and hearts.
We are one
in mind.
Yeah, and in some Pacific, one in mind and hearts.
Thank you.
So you can go around, and if you want to do that to your neighbor.
Thank you, everybody. And you can, of course, join this movement. You can join the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. It's consciousfoodsystems.org. And follow the Ubuntu Kapwa project on Facebook. So looking forward to being in touch. Bye.
Good. You start with your heart.
Saguabona.
Gracias, mi querida Ati, mi querida Dairita. Un beso grande y seguimos aquí tejiendo. Ya nos escribimos.
Bueno, un abracito. Gracias.
Bueno,
gracias, Margarita. Abuelita,
abrazo también para ti.
Un abrazo.
¿Cómo estás? Me gustó mucho verte.
Y